A few months ago, The Intercept published a thinly sourced and unevidenced report alleging that Nancy Pelosi's progressive challenger, Shahid Buttar, was mistreating his campaign workers. Now, based on what I read in the original reporting, I really couldn't find what the issue was. Anything that could potentially be an issue, again, didn't really provide the type of corroboration I would have liked to see. And the complaints that I was hearing from his now former staffers seemed to be embellished a little bit, okay? And now it turns out that, yeah, a lot of it was embellished. And maybe the left needs to be a little smarter in not taking the bait when people come out with their, smear campaigns or their ridiculous embellished grievances. And so Akilah Lacey, to her credit, has updated the story on The Intercept, and I want to share what those updates are. So she writes that the debate over Buttar's campaign was promoted by a draft resolution circulated by the San Francisco chapter of the DSA, or DSA San Francisco, in late July, moving to rescind the chapter's endorsement and calling on Bhutar to participate in a restorative justice process within the chapter, of which he and several of his current and former staffers were members. The DSA San Francisco draft resolution led to other local political groups also reconsidering their endorsements of the campaign or the candidate, a process that has fractured San Francisco's leftist circles. Because leftists are really good at fighting one another. They're really good at that. Like the nonstop competition of who's the most moral one always takes priority over winning. Just keeping it real, okay? You guys can go ahead and hate on me for saying it, but it is demonstrably true. It was true in the way Alex Morse was completely abandoned as soon as there were any accusations against him, and that destroyed his candidacy. It's true of this case. It was true of you, Cenk. You got dropped like in a second as soon as establishment Democrats put out their attacks on you. And I think it's pathetic because we need to think about what the actual priorities are here. And it should be winning. It should be winning, primarying corporate Democrats, getting them the hell out, and actually having effective leaders in Congress. That should be the priority. But instead, let's go ahead and fight one another over who's more moral. Okay, let me move on.
But can I just say real quick before you move on? But that even gives them too much credit because they want to claim moral superiority, but they actually don't have the facts to back it up. Alex Morse was totally smeared, and it was a homophobic smear. He actually had done nothing wrong. As you'll see in the details of Shahid's case, he has done nothing wrong. So no, you're not morally superior for destroying progressive candidates and helping the right wing or the establishment do that. I would say quite the opposite. And then they'll get really, really emotional about that. I was trying to be morally superior to you. Are you claiming that you're morally superior to me? How dare you? I'm the one who gets to lord that over you, etc. No, I don't believe it. And I think that the right wing couldn't ask for better allies than 100%. So-called people on the left who help these smears take on. I mean, look, you want to talk about me? Oh my God, you wrote something 18 years ago when you were a Republican. I am morally superior to you. Oh, congratulations. How about the last 18 years where I've helped every progressive in the world as much as I could possibly do? I don't care. This makes me feel good. I don't want those progressives' help. If it turns out I could feel morally superior to someone by trashing a fellow progressive. But look, I'm the least important of all of these because it turns out that, especially in my election, I wasn't close. It wouldn't have mattered. In this case, it was DSA, by the way, just a tiny, tiny little asterisk on this. Couldn't make up their mind between me and a corporate Democrat that took money from drug companies, backed Nancy Pelosi 100%. What kind of a socialist can't make up their mind between a corporate hack and a guy who's been doing a progressive show for 18 years, featuring every progressive there is in the country? So again,
no, but Cenk, no, I got to interrupt you, but you're not understanding this, okay? But you wrote very offensive blogs 20 years ago. And these people aren't public figures and they don't know what it's like to have everything they've ever done in their entire life looked at, dissected, judged. But I'm positive that if they were investigated and vetted that way, that they would be perfect human beings, and they've never done or said anything even remotely offensive. I gotta keep going, because I don't wanna get too stuck on one thing. There's more to this story that you guys need to know about. So what ended up happening with the DSA? Well, DSA San Francisco ultimately passed a resolution in a virtual meeting on August 4th that stripped out the accusations regarding Bhutar's mistreatment of staff. And the alleged sexual misconduct, I'll get to that in just a second. The amended resolution simply said that DSA San Francisco had lost confidence in the management of Bhutar's campaign and in Shahid Buttar as a candidate that represents our values. If you look at him as a candidate and what he represents policy-wise, it is hard to buy that argument, okay? But the reason why they changed the statement here is because it turns out that the accusations against him, especially the sexual assault allegation, was without merit. It couldn't be corroborated. The Intercept itself went out of its way to try to corroborate it. They couldn't. The allegation was by a woman named Elizabeth Croydon. After the allegations came out, a number of people who had been close to her said that she is not to be trusted with these types of allegations because she had made similar allegations to other people. It first started off with a sexual assault allegation, then it was changed to sexual harassment. Just weird stuff that couldn't be confirmed, but nonetheless, it was originally reported about, and I'm sure it did unfortunately harm his campaign. Now, Jasper Wild, Bhutar's former campaign manager, had written in a Medium post that his campaign ended due to allegations of sexual assault. The post has since been edited to replace assault with harassment. Wild said it was a mistake, and she changed the post after it was brought to her attention. Yeah, that's a pretty giant mistake, right? And one more thing, Cenk, one more thing, and then you can go ham, okay. The only allegation that still stands against Bhutar was that he can be a tough boss, that he can get frustrated, he can yell at his staffers and berate them. And so the original allegation was that he was disproportionately harsh toward the female staffers. Based on what I've seen coming out since then, it seems as though he's just a tough boss on everyone. And more importantly, he just had a difference of opinion in regard to how the campaign needed to move forward. The staffers didn't want volunteers to work on the campaign. Bhutar wanted the volunteers to work on the campaign. And so there was this constant friction and tension, and eventually the staffers left. And he continued on with his campaign in the way that he feels is fit. But the staffers continued on with these ridiculous allegations of, he was tough on us, and he was especially tough on us because we're women. Yeah, he was tough on the men too, but he was especially tough on us as women. We're gonna make ourselves out to be victims because we're women, even though there's evidence of him being like this toward the men as well. It's pathetic and it makes me embarrassed, honestly. Go ahead, Cenk.
So accusing someone of sexual assault is not a small mistake. So now those allegations have been completely discredited, and it turns out the Intercept is reporting that the person who made those allegations, apparently, according to someone else, did those same things to someone else, and then pretended that Shahid did it to her. So no credible person or outlet at this point believes her. Now the problem is, once you say that, once you put it out there, now there's a seed of doubt. And when you're already a massive underdog and going up against Nancy Pelosi or Richard Neal or any of these well-entrenched establishment Democrats who are corrupt to the core, and you don't have any media to help you, all the media kiss the ass of those corporate Democrats. All it needs is a tiny little seed of doubt and you're done. And you saw it happen to Alex Morse. So now they're doing it to the person who's our only hope against Nancy Pelosi. And so now they're gonna let Nancy Pelosi take it in a cakewalk because number one, they put a doubt on a heinous charge, totally unmerited. Then they turned to, well, it was sexual harassment. Then, as Anna pointed out, I kept reading the stories. Where is it? Where is this? Give me details, evidence, examples. Because if he really did it, I don't want to support him. There's no progressive in their right mind who would support a candidate who's in favor of sexual harassment. So, okay, I'm waiting. Where is the story? Nope. It turns out, yeah, he didn't agree with our decisions. That's not sexual harassment. And when you call that sexual harassment, you're hurting the cause of women all across the world when they actually get sexually harassed. Then they're gonna go, yeah, the left. They just pretend that if you don't listen to them, it's sexual harassment. Oh, you've done so much damage. You've done 100%. Untold damage, okay? And then at the end, and as Anna pointed out, when you get into, okay, so your only thing is he's your boss and he didn't agree with you, that even though you have no goddamn experience, that he should listen to you instead of trusting his own judgment and the judgment of others. So now you want to turn that into some toxic issue to destroy him because you're bitter. Then it turns out they said, oh, well, I mean, he didn't do it unequally to women. He did it to men and women. Then what? Then what the hell's the sexual harassment part of it? God, yeah, I mean, it's unbearable. And now half the groups in San Francisco, so-called progressive groups in San Francisco, can't make up their mind about whether they should support him or not. Maybe they'll go support Nancy Pelosi, who took $720 million in corporate contributions, otherwise known as bribes, because they can't make up their mind between BS charges on an awesome progressive and a corrupt Democrat. Then you're not a progressive. You're just self-aggrandizing, trying to get attention for yourself, and you sicken me.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to read word for word what The Intercept had updated about Croydon's allegations against Bhutar. So as Lacey writes in The Intercept, Croydon's claims have not been borne out. The Intercept was not able to corroborate Croydon's allegations and has interviewed multiple sources who recounted having disturbing interactions with her that caused them to question her credibility. Bhutar has denied the allegations from Croydon, who claimed that Bhutar verbally harassed her about celibacy and pressed himself against her at a party. Croydon's former roommate, however, Stacey Haynes, told The Intercept that the accusation sounded remarkably familiar, as it was actually Haynes who went through a period of celibacy and was mocked and harassed by Croydon for doing so.
Look, if you're a young staffer of a campaign or a company or anything, please stop ruining it for millennials too, not just progressives. Because everybody thinks that now millennials are entitled little pricks. And you know why? It's because of rich millennials. Poor millennials and middle-class millennials are going to college and then barely getting jobs at Burger King in Nebraska. And they've got everything stacked against them, and they've got all the odds stacked against them. And we're trying to help them with all of these different things that we're proposing: college for all, Medicare for all, etc., to get desperately needed help to millennials and Gen Z. But a couple of rich middle-class millennials go, oh my God, I'm entitled to, my boss should listen to me. At the age of 23, I should be the boss. Oh my God, you didn't listen to me? That's it, you're sexist, racist, whatever, I'll make up charges because I should have been in charge because mommy and daddy told me. Okay, yeah. So you really done more harm to the movement than you could possibly imagine. So don't come here with that nonsense. But we're fighting for actual progressives, and we're gonna fight 1,000% for guys like Alex Morrison, Shahid Buttar, and the next person smeared by alt-right maniacs who started the smear against me, backed up by so-called leftists, entitled little pricks that did it to Shahid and to others. Don't come here with that crap, okay? We're eyes on the prize. The prize is not your career. The prize is not whether you're esteemed enough and respected enough, etc. No, the prize is Medicare for all, Green New Deal, getting money out of politics, $15 minimum wage, college for all. The prize is actually help American citizens because they desperately need the help. This isn't about your goddamn ego. And if you think it is, we want no part of you. We're here to help actual progressives.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.